Hello and welcome to the Employment Hour. We're glad you're here. I'm your host, Paul Cotillo, and I'm joined today with my guest host, Mr. Jeff Williams. We're here also with our guest tonight, Mr. Tony Ramos. Tony, how are you this evening?
Great, thank you, and thank you for having me here.
Very good. We have a show here that is of great interest to your employers and you employees by providing all kinds of information about issues relating to employment. So we're glad you're here, and we're going to get right into it here right now. Tony, as I understand it, you have a kind of a consulting firm that provides background checks. The main one is for employers, right, on their new employees, background checks on them. Am I correct?
That is correct. That's correct. We operate on a national basis. In fact, we do some international work as well. We do pre-employment for screening and also consulting for companies looking to implement that kind of a program, advising them on the systems that are out there, the various screens, and what's the most cost-effective programs they can invest in.
I see. Now, what makes your particular company different than a lot of the other screening companies?
Well, most screening companies, they'll promote themselves to be a screening company. One thing they all have in common, very few, if any, actually pull their own records. They outsource that to researchers. We are researchers. We're set up that way. We started out as court researchers. We're experts at that.
So they pull their records from other sources and that kind of thing.
That's correct.
And you actually call the direct police departments or direct areas?
No, we send people to the courthouses. We have people, staff, we have courthouses staff with our representatives who go into the courthouses. These are people who are trained, who've been with us for years. They go into the courthouses and they pull the records for employers. Mm-hmm. And we provide this service also to other screening companies. So it's a system that we've had in place on a national basis.
Okay, I wanted to back up a little bit. And what kind of education do you have that prepared you for this type of thing?
A lot of it's been actual on-the-job training, but my background is electrical engineering from the DeVry. After that, I took a position with Underwriters Laboratory, analyzing alarm systems, breaking into safes, into alarm system, motion detectors, analyzing bulletproof, bullet-resistant material, testing that out as well. That got me interested in the security industry. I took a job at that point with a company called Saxon Paint Store, which I later became Director of Security for the operation. Following that, became Director of Security for all Carson Perry Scott stores. Did that for about 17 years, and I was recruited then by a company called U.S. Investigation Services, which is the largest screening company in the U.S., as Vice President of Sales for the operation. And that's where I really became familiar with the industry itself. I thought I knew the industry, hadn't been a security director for many years, having conducted background checks for many years. Nothing prepared me for what I then learned as a member of U.S. Investigations, to really know what goes behind the scenes, what differentiates a good screening company versus a bad screening company. So it was an eye-opener.
What kind of things should be in a background check? What kind of things are available for a background check?
Well, there's a lot of complications out there for companies, because when you look to do a background check on someone, there isn't any standard. Everybody has a different definition of what a background check consists of. The easiest program to implement would be a Social Security trace. That'll provide you with a name with that number so you can compare the two to make sure that you are doing a background on the right individual. The other thing it'll provide you with up to 10 years of residential history. So now you know where that applicant's lived at. You can compare that against the application to make sure. In addition, it'll provide you with any alias ever associated with that number. So now you have quite a bit of information. We then suggest to do a county search wherever the person's lived at. You have to understand the criminal court system, first of all. If a crime's going to be committed, chances are it's going to be tried in a county court. That's the home where all the records, that's the source where all the records are kept. So if you're looking to have a cost-effective program, that's your best source. That information in many states is up, some of the information is uploaded to the statewide records. But that's a database. Unfortunately, between a county and the state, there could be a miscommunication as much as 30%. So although companies may offer statewide searches, you're lacking information. The other part is by doing a county search, you're provided as an employer not only conviction information, but also arrest information. So you have more information in which to make your decision on.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, did you have some questions?
Well, what do you feel are some of the biggest misconceptions that corporations have about doing background checks? They think some things are true that may not be, and
the biggest problem that corporations have is understanding the different screens that are out there. Again, when you go on the internet and you look for a background screening company, you're faced with over 230,000 different choices. Where do you go? Who do you select? And a screening company versus a researching company, how do you differentiate the two? One of the things that is a key to establishing the quality of a background check or a screening company is to find out first what their hit rate is. And by that, I mean if a company, find out how many screens a company does a year. Of the number that they do a year, how many come back with a criminal record? That shows the efficiency that company would have on conducting the search.
And so the higher the hit record, the better the company.
That is correct. It's not so much the more you pay, the better it is, or the less you pay. It's the hit rate that actually determines the quality of the search itself.
Okay, now I'm an employer, and I'm wondering, gee, is there a law that governs the way these things are used?
No, in fact, well, it is. There is. There's a couple laws. There's a statewide law, and it varies from state to state. However, there's one that covers most of it, and that's the federal law. It's under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which was issued by the Federal Trade Commission. And basically what that entails or provides a company is immunity from lawsuits, as long as you follow the program as stipulated in the FCRA. And basically all it says is, as an employer, have a separate release form that the applicant has to sign. It cannot be part of the application. It has to be a separate release form indicating that you're going to conduct a background check. Once that's signed, have an outside firm do the background check, and you have to do a county court. The Federal Trade Commission does not recognize any kind of databases or any database beyond 90 days old. So the most effective way is to get the most updated information. That's at the county courthouse. Once that's completed, if there is derogatory information, before you take any negative action against that applicant, you have to provide that information to the applicant. The applicant has an opportunity at that point to challenge that information. By doing that, you give yourself protection, and you're protecting the rights of the applicant as well.
I see. So it's both sides. What other rights do the applicants have?
Well, the applicant has the right to challenge that information and to provide supporting information that's not, in fact, it's not them. It could have been a twin brother. It could have been that they were a victim of identity theft, which, as you know, it's a big, growing problem here in the United States.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of the records, especially in these databases, are name match only. So if you are a victim of identity theft and your information is used in the commission of a crime, you're arrested under your full name as well as the alias or that name that you stole. So now all that information gets loaded into these databases. So now here I am, I'm the applicant who was a victim of identity theft. Now I'm going to be a victim twice over.
Right.
Because I'm going to be denied employment, I'm going to be denied a loan, I want to be denied a mortgage because my name appears in a negative database.
Okay, we have to take a little bit of break here. This is very fascinating stuff, and we're going to have more information to employers and employees about what your rights are and what happens with the background check. Come back to us in just a minute. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Sherlyn Lund, president of the Greater O'Hare Association. Is your company looking for new employees? Reserve your space now for the Greater O'Hare Association Fall Job Fair on Monday, November 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Avalon Banquets located in 1905 East Higgins Road in Elk Grove Village. Employer packages start at only $325 and space is limited. For more information, please call 630-350-2944.
Hello and welcome back to the Employment Hour. I'm your host, Paul Cotillo, joined with Jeff Williams, my co-host, And we're here again with Tony Ramos, and we're talking about his consulting business providing background checks to businesses. What should employers think to pay for a background check?
A good price is around $20 per person. It depends how extensive they want, but that's a good round number, between $20 to $30. It all depends on the position itself and how much exposure they have. I think companies really have to understand what's at risk here. When you think about the investments company make in alarm systems, the fire wires and protection on their IT system and so forth, and it's all to protect them against the outside threat. But yet, that person fills out the application, and yesterday I was an outside threat, and today I'm a valued employee, and I'm given the keys to the entire corporation. So there's a lot of exposure there, and there's a lot at risk for employers.
You're saying that employers do have to provide a safe workplace, and that that's expanded these days.
Absolutely. Since 1998, workplace violence itself has increased by 750%. OSHA is now taking an active role in looking at employers and establishing what a safe workplace is. It's no longer a trip hazard anymore. It's also, what kind of employees are you hiring? What are you exposing other employees to? Many of these workplace violence issues could have been avoided had a decent background check been done. A lot of that is subject to discovery. Courts are ruling in favor of employers or applicants who are victim by crimes, because years ago it was difficult for employees to conduct these background checks. Now it's so simple. An average background screen should take less than 30 hours on a national basis. So it doesn't take any length of time, and for around $20, $25 you can get it done effectively and safely, protecting everybody's rights, but most important is providing a safe environment for your employees as well as your customers.
Okay, I'm an employee, I'm a potential employee. If I fill it out and put down my background, my criminal background, am I ever going to get hired?
If a company is ethical, I'll put it that way. I've personally, before I do that, I make sure that it's not a job-related issue. You look at the time between the event itself and the time the person's applying for the job, what's happened in between. So you take all that into account. On the other side, your chances are probably great that even if you are hired, you will be separated for falsifying your application. So you're better off as an applicant to be honest up front, because that's where you want to start your program. You're starting a relationship with that employer at that point. You want to start it off on the right foot.
What if people neglect doing a background check? What penalty would they have?
Negligent hiring suits are becoming more and more common now in throughout the U.S. On the average, jury decisions are around $3.5 million against the employers. Keep in mind, you have a jury of your peers who are looking at, who are sympathetic, and they're holding companies, corporations accountable. They've seen Enron, they've seen all these other companies who go astray, and they're holding these companies accountable, and they're paying the price for not conducting a due diligence up front.
You're saying also that there are other types of people that would use a background check, like say a person hiring a babysitter or somebody going for a mortgage or renting to somebody?
Absolutely. In this day and age, you can't trust anyone from appearance. You shouldn't. You don't know what background these people have. So you want to make sure that you're providing a safe haven for yourself, for your family, for your children. So you want to do that background check. It's very affordable. Those are slightly higher because you don't have the volume. You do maybe one check, and those checks usually include driving record as well as criminal record, because you want to see if the person may have an alcohol problem, if they've been arrested for DUIs.
Mm-hmm. So what type of people would do a background check? What kinds of for somebody you're going to rent to somebody, if you're a landlord, that would be one. Also, a babysitter. What other kinds of?
Again, whether it be a caregiver, if you're having somebody in your home for any purpose, whether it be cleaning your home, you want to make sure the person's clear of records. At least start off on the right foot. If they become dishonest after the fact, well, that's how much you can do about that. But start off on the right foot. Right now, employee theft or internal theft costs companies over $40 billion a year, and it's growing at a rate of 15% a year.
So it makes a lot of sense to pay $20, $30 for a background check and not incur the hit of embezzlement from your company.
Absolutely, and also according to the Small Business Association, 30% of the business failures do so because of internal theft. 30%. That's a big number that could be avoided. So if you're looking to be in business for a period of time, that's one way you can kind of safeguard your profits. And if you are in business, you're worried about the outside element and the threat. But it's so hard to also worry about the outside and the inside, knowing that the inside is going to cost you that much more. They have greater access. They have more opportunity. The outside, you're very limited on what access they have to your services, to your
Jeff,
merchandise.
I think you had some
When
questions
you're,
also.
when you're considering a hiring of a senior executive, are there some additional levels of background checking that are typically used?
Absolutely. You can do, you can check all the credentials, colleges and education, all the licensing that the individual may have, but you may also want to do a civil search. You want to see any type of litigation this person's been involved with. Again, you want to get a good picture of this individual. This person may be representing your company. They're going to be your representative of that company. You want to make sure you have all the information that could be discovered, that is public information. You want to have it at your disposal before anybody else does.
Well, let me ask a question from the perspective of the potential employee. How well protected is their medical information?
Medical is very protected because of HIPAA regulations, and that should be. And really, that shouldn't be come into play unless, obviously, it's a certain type of job that requires a certain amount of physical ability. But short of that, that shouldn't come into play.
As I remember during our conversation before the show tonight, you told me there was an astounding percentage of resumes that are incorrect or just downright wrong.
According to most surveys, and the latest one is from the Society for Human Resource Management, 53% of the job applications contain false information. Now, you couple that with the identity theft, you have no way of knowing as an employer who you're going to hire. And most employers, keep in mind, and that's on the surface, behind the scenes, most employers work for companies who, because of competition, have had to cut back. So you don't have the interviewing skills anymore.
Right.
You don't have the time to interview these individuals. And once you do hire them, you don't have the level of supervision you once had. So now these people have greater access, less supervision, the temptation is much greater. So the opportunity is much greater than it's ever been before, and it's only going to get worse. So unless we protect ourselves up front, we're going to have to pay dearly later on to try to eliminate that person.
Okay, I'm an employer, a potential one. We just have a little bit of time, so I wanted to get this in before we finish. I'm an employer. I have a juvenile record that happened when I was a teenager. Okay, does that figure into the background check? Or
No. Juvenile records are sealed and should be sealed. They're not subject to discovery, and it shouldn't be used by employers. One of the things that I do advocate is to use only information that is public access, and information that you're not, that you wouldn't have a difficulty having it appear in court. You want to make sure that you maintain the individual's rights as well as your own. So you're protected.
The age cutoff for juvenile records is
18 for the most part.
18. Is that just in our state here, or is that?
In most states. In most states. It varies between 17 and 18, but.
Okay, well, Tony Ramos, we're just delighted to have you here this evening, and it's been
very informative, I think, both for employers
Yes.
and employees about the whole thing of a background check, which is figuring in a lot more unemployment these days.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for watching. Once again, check our website, www.employmenthour.com. We'll have things about, that Tony has said here on this program on our website, and also lots more information for employers and employees. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Shirley Lem, president of the Greater O'Hare Association. Are you looking for a new job or know someone who is? Join the Greater O'Hare Association on Monday, November 6th for our fall job fair from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Avalon Banquets, located at 1905 East Higgins Road in Elk Grove Village. Over 50 employers will be hiring for a variety of positions, and admission is free. For more information, please contact Greater O'Hare at 630-350-2944. We hope to see you there.
Hi, welcome back to the Employment Hour. We're here to discuss issues of importance to employers and employees about your employment and all kinds of issues that are involved with that. It's a great part of your life, and we're here to make it smoother, to get jobs, and also to keep those jobs and have you in the job of your dreams. I'm here today with two wonderful guests, Andrew Michnowski. Andrew, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
And I'm going to be calling you Andy also here.
Absolutely.
So this is good. And I'm also here with Lisa Biever. Welcome, Lisa, to our program.
Thank you.
Very good. Now, so that I don't flub it up, I'm going to ask Andrew, what is your position and for what agency do you work?
I work for the Illinois Department of Employment Services. I'm a veteran representative for the state of Illinois out of the Arlington Heights One Stop Network office.
Very good. And Lisa, your position and who do you work for?
I'm a veteran service officer with the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs, and I am in the Elgin National Guard Armory.
Very good, very good. Now we always go back a little bit, and what in your background, your educational background, helped you to get to your position?
Well, I have to go back. To get this position originally, you have to be a disabled veteran. I served in Vietnam with the Marine Corps, 1969 through 72. And after leaving Vietnam, I went back to my previous occupation, which was the banking industry. Spent about 20 years in the banking industry, 10 years in manufacturing. I've gotten together with some Christian organizations, and we did a nonprofit organization just helping veterans at all different levels. And like anyone else that's lost their job due to downsizing, mergers, and buyouts, I landed up on the street as well. And I applied with the state of Illinois. And because I was a disabled veteran, I got preference, passed their criteria, and that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
It's real good. Thank you for your service to the country. Believe me, it's wonderful what you've done for us. Really.
Thank you.
And Lisa, give me a little bit about your educational background and also your job background.
I think probably what helped me the most, well, of course, you have to be a veteran to apply for the position. And then I did work study.
What branch of service did you work in?
Army.
Army, very good.
And then while I was going to college using my GI Bill benefits, I worked as a work study in our Murfreesboro office in Southern Illinois while I went to SIU, and then was hired on full-time there. So, of course, that certainly helped me as well.
Okay, very good. Now, veteran comes back from the service. He's done his deed for the country and whatever. He comes back. Should he expect to find a job waiting for him here?
Well, it's a wake-up call. They have to compete like anyone else for those jobs. Where he gets his preferences, if he applies for a federal, state, county, or city, he will receive veterans preference. But again, if it doesn't fall in those categories, he has to compete like anyone else.
I see. I see. And should employers hold a job for an employee that goes off to the service?
In that situation, if he was employed, when he's called or activated and receives his orders, there's a procedure and policy he has to follow and notify the employer, submit the documents. That employer under federal law is supposed to hold that job for him. And then when he returns, he has so many days that he has to report to the employer.
I see.
Now, if there's a situation where there's a misunderstanding between the veteran or the employer as far as how much time frame he has or what he's entitled to, we have people in our agency that address those issues with the employers. In most cases, I'd say 90% of the time it's resolved.
So you actually can be of assistance to the veteran in that.
Oh, exactly.
Very good. And so the veteran comes back. What you said that a lot of them are going into education immediately.
I've noticed in my office that with the young vets coming back, they're taking advantage of the GI Bill. And one of the things that I like to say, the state of Illinois is one of the best states with their education program. We have the Illinois Veterans Grant. What's nice about that is there's no time limit on that. So for us Vietnam vets, or if you're a Korean World War II vet and you've never used it, want to go back to school, you can take advantage of it. The state of Illinois will pay your tuition. Won't pay for the books, but it will pay your tuition, so you can take advantage of it. And in my particular case, when I have veterans like myself that are changing careers, they've downsized and mergers, they may have to look at another career. And a lot of times it's their advantage to go to a junior college or a state university and take additional studies or applying for different licenses to help them in the job market.
Now, how is it that your jobs interact with each other? I know that you refer people to Lisa, am I correct?
That is correct. When veterans come in my office, my primary function is to find employers that will place these vets. However, in our discussion, in our what we call our assessment interview, if I find that the veteran has different needs, I address those needs. For example, if they're asking me about a home loan, or they're asking me about education, or they basically ask me about benefits because of medical problems they have that they're experiencing. So then based on that, I would refer them to a veterans VA service officer, someone like Lisa.
Okay, and Lisa, what when he refers to you, what is he looking for? What kind of things do you
Mainly what we do is, of course, first see if there was anything that happened to the individual while they were on active duty that we could file a potential claim. And then that's a federal program.
A claim with who?
With the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So if you're just coming off of active duty and then you incurred some kind of an illness or injury while you were on active duty, you can file a claim for compensation and then possibly receive disability on a monthly basis.
I see. Okay, so some you help to get disability. What others
Correct.
do you help with?
We help file benefits for veterans as well as their dependents on the state and federal level. So there's also a non-service connected pension available for the vet who served during wartime. His illnesses aren't anything related to the service, and there's income limitations that apply. Then there's the DIC benefit, and that is if your spouse died of a service-connected disability, something linked to it, killed in action. And then there's the widow's pension for those widows whose husband have passed away and it was nothing due to the service they served during wartime, and income and asset limitations apply there as well. Mm-hmm. We assist veterans in anything dealing with VA benefits or VA matters. We help them get their medical records, their DD-214s, medals. We also assist them in applying for health benefits through the VA hospital, and then the governor also has the new Illinois health insurance coverage. Then we help them apply for their education benefits, and I am as well, like Andy, seeing a lot of people coming off of active duty, you know, immediately going into school to take advantage of their ed benefits, especially because of the fact that in Illinois we have the Illinois Veterans Grant. And another nice thing about the Illinois Veterans Grant for the new people coming off of active duty, they can use it in conjunction with their GI Bill benefits.
Mm-hmm. And I understand that you really do a hands-on with the veteran and with the family to help them fill out the forms, to understand what benefits they have, and to help them to really apply for those in the right way. Am I
Exactly,
correct?
And then we submit the applications to the appropriate offices for the veteran or the dependent.
Mm-hmm. And how much time do you spend usually with each applicant to do those kinds of things?
It really depends. If it's a new person coming off of active duty and you're doing, you know, an application for compensation, health benefits, education benefits, you can look at an hour or so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But whatever it takes, you do it, right? And you
Exactly,
help them with
exactly.
the whole thing.
And I mean, sometimes it may mean other veterans or dependents waiting, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
correct.
Well, thank you both for being here. We're going to be back in just a minute with more information about how veterans can use these services to help them in the employment arena and also get the types of benefits that they are entitled to, and help them to get reemployed and back into civilian life. If you have any other issues or whatever, check out our website, www.employmenthour.com. I think we have over 400 different pages there that you can look into for both employers and employees to find out answers to your employment questions. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Shirley Lund, President of the Greater O'Hare Association. Is your company looking for new employees? Reserve your space now for the Greater O'Hare Association Fall Job Fair on Monday, November 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Avalon Banquets located at 1905 East Higgins Road in Elk Grove Village. Employer packages start at only $325 and space is limited. For more information, please call 630-350-2944.
Assistance program where veterans come to classes at the military bases. We have two classes, one for the retirees and then one for the separatees. And basically they learn how to integrate into the civilian world. They have to learn how to speak.
Hi, and welcome back to the Employment Hour. We're glad you're back with us. We're discussing all kinds of information about veterans and when they return from their active service, what do they do to help get employed here back in the United States. I'm here with our guests again, Andrew Michnowski. Welcome again, Andrew. And I'm here with Lisa Biever, and both of you are working to aid the veterans. This is just a question for either one of you. When a veteran returns, what are the challenges that he or she faces trying to get a job?
Well, basically, the veteran has to compete with everyone else out there for those positions. And statistically, what we found out compared to the Vietnam era vet, back in the 60s and 70s, 85% of jobs just required a high school education. Today, 85% of jobs require some college. So it's beneficial for them upon returning to the job market to continue their education. And that's where the Illinois Veterans Grant and the GI Bill comes in handy. And as I said earlier in the show, I've been finding about 95% of the vets have been going back to school to get their associate and bachelor's degree. And some even pursued their even master's degree. The other thing that we have, the Department of Labor Vets program has TAP. And TAP is basically civilianese. They have to learn how to drop those military jargons. They learn resume writing, interviewing skills, networking, finance management, salary negotiations, everything to get them acclimated to going into the civilian world.
That could be of tremendous help, I think, for certain people coming back, absolutely.
And what we've been finding out on the average, with the veteran that goes through the TAP program, 6 to 8 weeks sooner does he find a job compared to one that did not go through the program, which is a big savings to the federal government.
This is wonderful, yeah. Now, you were mentioning a couple of websites, and I want to make sure that we get those in that are of particular help to returning veterans. Can you mention those at this time?
Oh, absolutely. And this is not just for
we'll
returning
get to yours
veterans.
Too, Lisa. You have a website also.
This is not just for returning veterans, but all veterans and job seekers. It's called www.illinoisskillsmatch.com. And you spell out Illinois. Don't put any breaks between the words. And that is the job website for Illinois Department of Employment Services for also employers. So if employers have jobs that they want to post with the state, which is free, they can post it with our department. And if they want to hire a veteran, one of the things I would suggest is that they call the nearest unemployment office in their facility and speak to a veteran representative.
Very good, very good. And Lisa, you have a website also of help to the veterans?
Yes, and Andy's got that written down there.
It's www.ilgov/I-served, S-E-R-V-E-D.
Very good. Okay, and what kind of help can they find on that website?
Various state and federal benefits that they can seek assistance in one of our offices in their local area.
Very good. So they could check that and become interested in which ones they could apply for, and then you actually help them to sort that out and figure out which ones.
And then they can also find out that what offices in their local area would be nearest to them.
Okay. Very good. And what particular areas are hiring a lot of veterans these days? What kind of companies are hiring veterans?
Well, we're finding it across the board in all fields and occupations, because the veteran coming back has a lot of skills, training, medical field, logistics, warehousing, management skills.
Not afraid of hard work.
Absolutely. They have no understanding of what overtime is. They go 7/24.
That's true.
and they have a lot to bring to the table. They work in a very diverse group. They handle stress very well. They communicate, and it's something.
What kind of lines of employment should they look into? What would be an open thing for them?
Well,
or are there ones that are more?
Well,
open?
one of the things I suggest, and I would like to throw another website here
Sure.
for anyone that's interested, is the state website's www.ides.state.il.us, and our director, Brenda Russell.
Okay, can I ask you to say that again? Well, we're going to put it on stream
Right.
it on our thing, so we'll have that there for people's availability. Okay,
But our director, Brenda Russell, has an invitation there for employers and job seekers where you can link up and get labor market information. You can see, register yourself with the Illinois Skill Match from that location. You can apply for state jobs. So there is an unbelievable amount of information out there that's available, all from that one location.
Very good, very good. And you were mentioning also the helmets to hard hats program. Tell me a little bit about that.
That is a federal program nationwide. Basically, the federal government's been working with the unions across the country to hire veterans. For example, if you were in the Navy and you were an electrician and you've been doing it for 10, 15 years, upon returning to your home state, do you go an apprenticeship program at entry level? Or should you come in at maybe a third-year level, fourth-year level in it? So they have a program that if you fill out a certain form, which basically is a history of your experience in the military and how it relates to that trade that you're going into, the unions then can waive that entry-level position and bring you in a higher level.
It saves you some hours, some years that you've not been in the workforce, but it saves you those and puts you ahead.
Exactly. And Lisa, I believe the state of Illinois program has where they compensate the difference in the salary as they're going through the trades. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not sure what you're referring to,
Well,
which benefit.
For example, what we would say, let's say you were a sergeant, you're making $38,000 a year. Apprenticeship program, they may bring you in at $10 an hour. You have a family. How do you make that adjustment? Well, through the GI Bill, if you go into the trades, they will offset some of that difference by giving you a larger sum of money per month. For example, maybe $700. Then as the raises in the unions go up every 6 months, whatever the case, you'll get less from the federal government as your salary goes up, and until it gets to a point where it zeroes out.
Yeah, that's through the GI Bill. That's federal.
Right.
Right.
Very good. Do you also help them with applying for scholarships or also for home ownership through your program?
Yes. And I kind of discussed some of the various education benefits that we offer as far as the IVG and the GI Bill. And then the other program, too, that we have is called VOC Rehabilitation for the disabled vet. If they're 10% or more service-connected, they can apply for that benefit. And there's a process that they have to go through, and then they will determine whether or not that they need to rehabilitate that veteran into another career field that won't hinder his or her service-connected disabilities. So that's a very nice program as well.
Very interesting, very interesting. Now, I would ask each of you to just in a couple of sentences give us your mission in helping the veterans. Andy, maybe if you could.
My primary responsibility is to place the veteran on a job. I am responsible to go visit employers, companies, corporations, and solicit job orders from them.
And just hardcore, just get them on a job. Good,
Exactly.
Good thinking, yes. And your mission?
And our primary mission is to assist the veteran and their dependent in applying for any federal or state benefits in which they may be eligible.
Very good, and I know that you do an excellent job of that, both of you, really, and it's a real mission for our veterans who really deserve so much, and so much thanks, and so much to be actually welcomed back and give them the kind of position that they really, really need. I'm glad to hear that they can make up time and also not lose pay, but they can make up time on their employment and come up with continue. It makes it smoother to get back to civilian life. So this has been very exciting and should be of wonderful help to employers and employees about the veteran issues and help veterans to get their jobs. Some of this information, a lot of it will be on our website. www.employmenthour.com. If you don't check into that website, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sherlyn Lund, President of the Greater O'Hare Association. Is your company looking for new employees? Reserve your space now for the Greater O'Hare Association Fall Job Fair on Monday, November 6th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Avalon Banquets located at 1905 East Higgins Road in Elk Grove Village. Employer packages start at only $325 and space is limited. For more information, please call 630-350-2944.
Hello and welcome back to the Employment Hour. I'm your host, Paul Cotillo, and I'm here with Jeff Williams, who's been a co-host with me several times, and very delightfully so, Jeff. You great questions and great insights. Welcome again. And I'm here also with Mohammed Faheem, and Mohammed is actually the one who had the basic concept for the Employment Hour and has helped hundreds of people both with that and also with his new job with the Illinois Employment Service, where he helps a lot of people get jobs. So welcome, gentlemen, and our format's going to be a little bit different, I understand. We're just going to do kind of a free-for-all.
Good to be here, Paul.
Talking about job techniques and that kind of thing.
Good to be here. One little correction, though. I mean, I work at the employment office, but I work for WorkNet Northern Cook County, which is kind of like a partnership of different agencies that come together to help job seekers and employers.
Very good, very good.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the interviewing process. It's pretty misunderstood.
You want to start off with interviewing, or you want to go with resumes and things first, because that is what leads up to the interview.
Fine. What do you think are the three key aspects of a good resume?
It's the resume has to be to the point, number one. You don't ramble around in a resume talking about personal things. Number two is going to be very critical that you focus on what the employer is looking for and make that a part of your resume. In other words, read the job description. Because nowadays, more and more resumes are being scanned electronically or by computer when you submit a resume. So the computer is looking to match the requirements of the job, which is very critical. So if your resume is not reflecting those particular keywords, for lack of a better word, that people call them, it is going to be automatically put down into the do not read pile. So the second thing, you're talking about three things. The third and most important thing is to get the resume to somebody who could actually read it. Most people think that when you submit your resume online, that should be the end of it, right?
Well, that's the common misconception.
Common misconception, I think.
Okay, or if you fax your resume or if you email your resume and say, hey, I emailed 600 resumes. How come I didn't get a single response? The most important thing is do it and just inundate the employer with your resumes. If you are asked to fax it, you fax it. You mail out a copy of the resume. If you're asked to email it, you email it, and then you fax it, and then you mail out a copy of the resume. And if the company is in your neighborhood, drive by and drop off a copy also.
I think a couple of other things too that are very important is that nowadays people have several resumes for different types of jobs or different jobs, highlighting different things for that particular job. And I know that people do that, and with Word on the computer, it's easy to move things around, to move things from page to page, and that kind of thing. I know that people are doing that a lot.
Well, you can do that, but only to a certain extent. You can only do that to a certain extent. And let me back up a little bit again. We were talking about how do you submit your resume. So now we are inundating the employer with 4 or 5 different ways of getting your resume to them, right? Now you need to make sure. Most people feel that, okay, I'm going to send the resume with a nice little cover letter addressed to whoever it concerns or to whomsoever it concerns, or the hiring manager, okay? And then they sit back and they wait for people to respond and say, I didn't get a response. I have sent out 600 resumes. You're not going to get a response. Because most of the time, the human resources manager, the HR manager, is not the hiring manager. There is a difference there.
Right. They're the screening manager. They screen it for someone else at another level.
Absolutely. So if you are really interested in a job, if you are really interested in the company, what you need to do is to find out who the hiring manager is.
Which is not easy to do sometimes, though.
It is not easy, but it is not to say that it cannot be done.
Do you have some secret techniques that work well in doing that?
Well, the best way to do it is if you are applying for, say, a customer service position, just to take a position, customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Find out who the customer service manager is or which department the job is opening in. Make a phone call or go through, any of the industry books like, Thomas Register or something like that. If it is a big company, it would be listed, all the officers would be listed and with the titles and everything.
Maybe on their website too.
On their website, check out their website, okay? So, get in contact with the hiring manager. Now, most of the time there will be a gatekeeper there, okay? The receptionist or, the executive assistant. Why do you need to speak to him or her, sir? Okay? Make up some excuse. Say, hey, I just need to talk to them about, whatever the product is. And usually you'll get through. Now, another way to get through to senior management is before the office opens, because most of the senior managers do not clock in at 8 o'clock. They want to come in a little bit early to catch up on things before the actual public starts coming in and actual, business of the day starts. And sometimes they stay late also.
Right.
The staff would leave at 5 o'clock, but the manager would still be sitting there doing paperwork. Call them then. And politely ask them, I would like to set up a time to come and visit with you. Now, when you send out your resume to the hiring manager, and you have already sent it out to the human resource people, the hiring manager would look at your resume and say, this sounds interesting. And then they would go down to the human resource office and say, could you pull that resume out for me and call this guy? I'd like to talk to him. You will get a heck of a better response doing that.
This is true.
Than just relying on human resource people to call you back for an interview. Their job is not to call you for an interview, but to make sure that out of the 500 resumes that they get, 495 are put in this do not call pile, and 5 people are called for the interview. Now, I've heard a story the other day that a human resource person was actually saying, I do not have the time to go through this whole pile. I'm going to take it and fluff it up in the air. And whichever I can catch, I'm going to call those people. I don't know how far it is true, but there is a chance. So no matter how good or how well your resume is written, you have to make sure that that resume gets to that person that it is addressed to.
Right.
So very, very critical.
Well, I think it's almost coming to a point where you may, say you send out 30 resumes, you may have to customize each one of them to the job opening. And that's so much easier to do today because of the internet. I was reading not long ago in Business Week that over 35% of corporate hires are done through people who respond through the company's website.
You have a very, very, very good point there. According to the latest research that I have been reading, as of 2005, end of 2005, 21% of the hiring that was done through company websites. 19% was done through personal referrals. So between these two factors,
40%.
You're looking at over 40%, close to 50% now. As of now, because more and more companies are going. If you go to a job fair, I was at a job fair recently at the McCormick Place. I saw some companies not taking resumes at all, but handing out back scratchers or pens or something with their web address on that, and saying, "Please go to our website to apply for a job."
Okay, we're going to have to roll down to a break here in just a minute. We'll come back with some more techniques on how to find a job and kinds of things to do to help you get that interview and help you get that job. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Employment Hour. We're glad you're back with us. I'm Paul Cotillo once again, and this is Jeff Williams, also a co-host many times. We're here talking with him, and also with Mohammed Faheem, the gentleman who has had the great insight to begin this entire Employment Hour thing. We're having a little bit of a roundhouse here, and we were talking a little bit over the break about cover letters, right? What do we think about cover letters?
Well, cover letters have to be sent no matter what. Even if they ask you to send a cover letter or not, include a cover letter. It personalizes your approach because you're addressing the cover letter to the person who is doing the hiring or to the hiring manager. I mean, to the human resource manager.
Good point.
Now, do you write a whole essay in a cover letter? It should not be more than 2 to 3 paragraphs. 3 paragraphs at the most, about 4 lines to a paragraph. What you're going to do is, first paragraph, you're going to start off by referring to the way you found out about the job, like, you know, whether it was an ad in the newspaper, or it was posted on the internet, or you came to know about it from somebody, or somebody told, you know. You specify that in the first paragraph. You know, dear Mr. So-and-so, and then you start the first paragraph. Second paragraph, try to put in some of the jargon that was put in the job posting.
Wise move.
Okay. Yeah, some of the jargon. And don't just cut and paste from the job posting. Reword some of those things.
But in the job posting, they're trying to say what they want.
Absolutely.
And if you link yourself to what they want, they're going to want you.
Right. And in the third paragraph, ended up by saying, asking for an interview, asking to get in front of that person. So that is where the cover letter comes in very useful, compared to just sending a resume where you cannot really personalize it to the person, you cannot ask for the interview. So it gives you more of a, more of a chance of standing out in front compared to the other people who are just sending in resumes.
This is true. And I've heard many times a cover letter has to link the resume to that particular job, and it has to pretty well nail it, that you're the one whose capacities and whose abilities can really do that particular job.
Absolutely. See, why is let's think back for a second. Why is this job opening there in the first place? The job opening is there because the employer has to find somebody to fill that spot in order to provide service to the employer's constituency, which could, their customers or whoever they are. Because if their customers are calling in and the employer here is short of one customer service rep and the others have to put a customer on hold for half an hour, that customer is going to go to someone else.
I know one of the things that you come back to many times, and is very brilliant, is the way that the employer goes about getting someone for the job, and how the potential employee goes about finding a job, and how diverse those are.
Well, there goes the rest of our time on this segment, because we are not going to get into the interviewing. We can do that later, but very important. I'm glad you brought that up. The way people are searching for jobs now is diametrically opposite to the way an employer is searching for an employee. Let's look at a typical scenario. What happens when there's a vacancy in an organization? Jeff, I mean, what's the first thing that the employer would do?
Well, I know what I would do, and that is I'd see if we didn't have somebody inside the organization.
Absolutely. So that's the first step that the employer is taking. The second thing that they would do is probably talk to their employees and see, hey, do you know somebody that you could refer to this job who could be a good fit in our organization? And most companies have a bonus kind of thing. So if you refer somebody and that somebody is hired.
And that does work for them too. It really does work.
Why is the employer doing that? Because it is costing him less money. If he was to put an ad in the newspaper or on one of the commercial job boards, it could be anywhere from $50 to $500 and up. So the employer would rather give $100 to somebody working in the company to refer someone else for a job. So they're looking at it from a cost point of view and effectiveness point of view also.
I know one company offering $1,500 if the new employee stays for a year.
I've got another company in Chicago that is offering $2,500. They don't advertise their jobs outside, period.
Right,
okay.
All word of mouth.
So those are the two things. And then the third thing that the employers are doing now is based on what you said and the research that I have read. they're posting that job on their own website.
Right.
Okay. Now the fourth thing that an employer would do would probably go talk to an employment agency or come to us at the state and WorkNet and see, hey, can you find me an employee?
Right.
So that's the fourth thing. The fifth thing that the employer would do would probably post that after nothing works on one of these commercial job databases, okay, that you see .com this and .com that. The fifth and the sixth thing that the employer would do would probably put an ad in a newspaper. Now, by the time all of this rolls around, there's a time lag there, right? Now, look at how the job seeker is searching for a job. The first thing that people do is Sunday morning comes, they grab the newspaper, they open it up, and they take their highlighter and they are highlighting or they are circling all the jobs that they want to apply for on Monday.
That's right. Have we done it? I've been there. Have you been there?
Oh, yes.
I've been there.
Yes.
Okay. And so they circle that and then they make phone calls and, oh, their job, that's already filled. Because by the time that newspapers are publishing that ad, I mean, the employer is also doing other things to fill that position.
Right.
So the employee is starting from here, the employer is coming from there. The second thing that the job seeker would do would probably go to these .coms and try to look for a job. And so there's like 1,500 other people applying for the same job. And then nothing happens, so they come to a state agency or they go to a job service or something, employment agency, and say, hey, can you find me a job? So they are coming from the opposite direction compared to where the employer is looking for an employee. What the job seeker needs to do is to change their attitude. They change their whole method of searching for jobs. First, find out what do you want to do? I mean, what turns you on?
What do you love to do?
What do you love to do? I mean, which industry, which company do you want to get into? Whether you want to get into a big company, whether you want to get into a small company, medium company, what kind of business should that company be in? First, do some soul searching. Write down those things, and then start looking for companies in that business. And we discussed this in the last show as how you can use Google as a very good search engine for finding out companies in specific fields. Say you want to work in a pharmaceutical company. You put in your zip code, 60005 in the case of our office, and then put the plus sign, and then say pharmaceutical companies. That's all you do. Click enter. Google comes back and gives you a whole list of answers and replies on that. The first one that you would see would be a map of the area that you're in with all the companies around that area.
Okay, we're coming short on time, so we need to kind of complete what you're talking.
So basically that's what you do to search for the jobs, and then make sure that, coming back to the resume is written well, there are no typos, no mistakes in it, and don't fluff your resume, you're going to get caught. And make sure that the hiring manager gets a copy of your resume somehow. So your chances would go up dramatically of finding a job.
Well, I think what it comes down to is that it's a career strategy process rather than just a job search.
Absolutely.
I mean, most people take the only job they can find rather than thinking about what I want to do in my life and who does that kind of work.
Okay, and thank you all for being with us. Gentlemen, this is very exciting. We want to keep going. We have to stop now. Thank you all for listening. This has been the Employment Hour. Thank you.